Good evening, Go Mode podcast fans. We are back with more great mentor tourney action. I am Cool Papa Bell 2282, and alongside me in the commentary booth is Esmar. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Looking forward to seeing this race. We are here in week 2 of open mode, which is kind of, in my view, the most classic randomizer race mode. It's very near and dear to my heart. We start with nothing, and the whole world is available to us, and we just got to build our way towards that final finish. And we're going to be getting started here in just a few seconds.
Yeah, quick shout out to Amphalis, who is tracking for us. And I was just about to say, we have some options here at the start as our runners go in opposite directions. We got a cane and an ether.
Yeah, there's not generally a lot of debate on like starting routes. It's kind of just whatever you're happy with. Um, Emock on the right here, taking the Uncle route, get an early tree pull, but a little bit slower to get into the village. Indio getting a little bit of a head start on that, but is likely going to have to come back for these later.
Yeah, I think you've got to definitely grab a tree pole one way or the other, either here in the courtyard or going up and checking what the lumberjack item is. So both of our runners getting those 20 rupees as a good start. Yeah,
That's a
good
nice
bush
bush
crab.
crab too, because we get a couple of those on the way to the village. That's something that I've had to tell my mentee. It's like, yeah, if you check those, you really reduce the chances that you're caught without bombs in Kakariko. Sometimes you don't get bombs and you don't get any money.
Yeah, Uncle did give us 50 bucks as well, so plenty to buy some bombs once we get there.
Getting bullied a little bit there. Slows you down, but for 20 rupees a pop, you take that. And we're seeing Indio there on the left, skipping the piece of heart freestanding in the forest mushroom spot and taking the full heart container down the pit there. It's often something that you'll see runners do, switch, sort of switching whether or not they decide to pick up freestanding items. Often pieces of heart you'll kind of leave.
First map check gives us 2 blue crystals at EP and Tower of Hera, and then just a pendant down in Desert Palace.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of distance made up here. Emock not quite as far behind. Indio heading into the village, doing it from the south up, not having gotten those bombs, is gonna probably be buying those from the shop next door here.
But really nothing in these initial checks to dissuade us from going straight to Kakariko. You know, maybe you get a bow early on and you think about Eastern, but nothing like that has happened here.
Yeah, and I mean, in these non-boots modes, there's really not very much reason to skip any of these checks ever, because there's enough here that you may as well do it just in case you find the boots. It makes everything else faster.
Some absolute universal law of rando there. Every time you have to buy bombs, you will get 3 more in the chicken hut.
Yeah, at least that feels better than, getting them in the front of Blind's Hut or Cackwell. They're like, if only I'd have risked it. I wouldn't have needed to spend the time buying them, but it's generally a lot safer just to buy them. I'm a gambling man, though, so I often will opt to go down the well and hope that one of those 3 has some bombs for me. Yeah, but so far, pretty dry town here.
Yeah, bottle's not bad, but, nothing particularly exciting yet.
Yeah, the first part of any seed really is you're kind of waiting for your first kind of your initial go mode that allows you to start progressing and clearing a dungeon. Um, in a seed like this, it's going to be a light world dungeon. So we need bow to be able to finish Eastern and some manner of access to get to Tower of Hera. And of course a weapon with which to defeat the boss. We'll probably be seeing something through the South Shore checks. But if we go through and that's pretty dry, then we're kind of... There's a very restricted seed. But there's still plenty of time here.
I mean, Fire Rod is something that gives us a weapon that we could go do some work in the castle, I guess. Although I suppose that's always in logic, because you can always just farm for bombs.
Yeah, interestingly, the Fire Rod in certain circumstances can make the back of Eastern Palace available. So with the bow, it is logically a clearable palace. We can't get the dark rooms for the vanilla big key location, but we are able to clear the rooms in the back because they do have freestanding torches.
Yeah, and of course it can provide some light to Dark Cross to get through the back of Escape, but the mirror here as well, which Indio has checked first and then had to walk back around for.
Yeah, often if I get that little throughout Kakariko, I'll often just take a chance. I don't think it's a good idea, but I like to do it. Gives me a little bit of a thrill.
So this will be a pleasant surprise for Emock here to get paid off for blind doing race game.
Yeah, and making up even a little bit more of that time. Very close to neck and neck, considering that Emock has, those two uncle checks. And of course, a little bit of 1.0, JP 1.0 tech there. You can use the mirror there to delete those blocks. Often you're very used to just doing it the intended way because you don't have an item to bypass them. But always nice when you get one and remember to actually do it.
Crab's not being very nice to Indio there, but...
Yeah, no, this is a little iffy here. Half a heart here, only bombs with which to... Ooh, no, nice usage of the bee there. Oh, and yeah, the fire rod. No magic, but... Yeah, that's a good usage of that bee.
Yeah, such a big part of, keeping your head in the game in Rando is just remembering what resources you have, especially this early on. Oh, you get the bee right back, too. Fantastic.
Yeah, and the hammer. So that's kind of our first sort of major relevant item. Not too much we can do with it just yet, but it's going to be important very shortly. We are seeing an early Agina check here from Emock. This is a bit non-standard because it's a lot of time investment for one check, but if it's something big, it can be a huge leg up.
Yeah, this is another kind of sticking point about people who do the dam and then go west, just to see what that ledge item is and pick up this Agina check. You know, it doesn't pay off much, but when it does, you very often gain a lot of time on your opponent since it's so easy to leave that one for a long time.
Yeah, my kind of conventional wisdom is that, I never want to leave more than 2 checks hanging at any given point. So when I have to decide whether or not I'm going to take something or not, it's always kind of a balance of like, okay, what am I likely to have to leave in the future? Because there's all of these commonly sort of orphaned checks, like Hobo can be that sometimes. Catfish frequently is. And then early game you have Ice Rod and Agina. One of the two of which is very easy to leave. So I usually like to leave one but never both. And with that hammer, we're seeing Indio go into the Hyrule Castle.
Yeah, for sure going to gain back some time on doing the castle on the first trip up here to Hyrule Castle, which Emock was not able to, of course.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time I like to try and put off the castle until I have the boots, because you're going to save so much more time doing it later if you can afford to do that. But here I like it for a different reason, because we don't have access to back of escape with the mitts or with the gloves, but it is in logic because we do have that fire rod, which is, I think that, yeah, that's sufficient for all of the dark rooms in the sewer escape sequence. So this is actually worth quite a few more checks than it would be otherwise. It is, however, still going to be a pretty hefty time investment. I can't imagine Emock is going to be doing that. It made a little bit more sense for Indio having those two uncle checks. Here, I would imagine we see Emock head to Agina. Could be into the castle as well, though, for the exact same reasons.
Yeah, one thing I always think about at this point is how likely is it that I'm going to have to do Aga 1? Right, so like if we had a sword and a lamp by now, I would go to Eastern first, and then figure, okay, I'll come to, you know, the castle to find my Moon Pearl or whatever, and then go up Aga from there. But in this case, Aga's almost certainly out the window, so I can see getting the castle out of the way right now.
Yeah, I feel like the next thing that we're probably likely to see is flute, or more likely lamp for mountain access, because we have, you know, the mirror, we have the hammer, and that's going to lead us up to our first crystal, and there's quite a bit of other stuff because we can access the right side. That's kind of what I'd be on the lookout for here. It's probably the single most impactful item here. Nice use of Samaria there in the dark room, just to get your bearings a little bit without a sword. Ah, true, yes, yeah. Lamp does not quite give us the mountain access yet. But yeah, it is starting to look more and more likely that we're going to be running into a situation where we have to do like a dip of Eastern Palace or something.
Yeah, although another argument in favor of the castle, as we talked about earlier, right, is that the Fire Rod doesn't actually put anything in logic yet in Eastern, so...
Yeah, unless the... Yeah, because it doesn't unlock anything. We can get to the back, but without the bow, we can't get to the boss. Ooh, and there's the glove. It's a great time to find it, because we actually are locked out of the back here, because the key is going to be one of those 3 chests in the back.
And once again, I think smart usage of the green potion that we picked up to just make this whole castle trip easier and faster, which is really what you want potions for.
Yeah, it can be very tempting to hoard them, you know, JRPG style. Just hoard all your items in case you really need them later. Racing kind of breaks you of that habit very quickly, because it's like, hey, if you can use it now, use it now. You know, use them when you need them.
I am definitely a video game hoarder. Like, this is my emotional support dagger I picked up in the first area. I must keep it forever.
I mean, you gotta keep at least one of every weapon, because what if you want to go back to it later, you know, for old time's sake?
Exactly, you get it.
But yeah, now kind of the only option really that we have is heading over to Eastern. The glove does put King Zora specifically in logic. Nothing else really, though. We could go up the mountain out of logic, I suppose, but...
And boy, with an early mirror, you would just hate to go to Zora right now, right? When you could actually loop it in with a catfish check and make that slightly less terrible, you would just so much prefer to do that. Plus the farming for rupees that you'd have to do right now.
Yeah, really the only reason would be, you know, is being slavish to the idea that you never want to dip a dungeon if you can help it. But at this point, it's looking almost. I feel like we're gonna have to dip Eastern for progression, but we do see Indio deciding to go up that mountain out of logic, which I think makes a lot of sense here. But yeah, if you're following the logic of this seed, it's between Zora or somewhere in Eastern, and unless it's the bow, you're going to need to come back anyway, so...
Yeah, Indio, I think, really betting on that there is some kind of a logical mountain access over in Eastern, and most importantly, that it's the lamp, hopefully, now that we're in possession of that glove, because you really hate to skip the flute if that's your logical mountain access.
Yeah, and I mean, I think going up the mountain here is really the better play, because the only thing that helps you going into Eastern here is if the progression is specifically the bow, it lets you finish Eastern. Here, you get to do quite a bit of the Light World Mountain, and you get a really good chance at finding some of the other progression that, you know, can't necessarily be the thing the seed is looking for you to find next, but there are a lot of other things that we can make good use of here, like Moon Pearl would be really good. Hookshot could be very useful at finding, you know, one of the two bows. A lot of stuff that can help you out on the mountain, even though it's out of logic technically.
Yeah, and also with Mirror and Hammer, right? Just Paradox Cave is so tempting that not unreasonable to just rush up here as soon as you can get there.
Yeah. Plus, there's a crystal up here, so it's a very, very good call here. Like this is a really great time to do out of logic mountain. Sometimes it's kind of a tricky proposition because it is a lot of time and you want to minimize the number of trips, because you can get a really banger trip where you get all of Light World and Dark World the first time you go up the mountain. But right now, with how restrictive this seed is logically, you really do want to, you know, go up here, get a move on, start making progress. Ooh, interesting. So we got Mire and Turtle Rock as our other two pendants. And less interestingly, we have the 5 and 6 crystals on Pod and Swamp.
I do not know how to feel about the Cane dungeons being pendants when we got Cane so early in the seed.
Yeah, I mean, those are kind of... I think the only more interesting result there is, like, Turtle Rock and Swamp, because those are kind of two of the highest, you know, item requirement dungeons to even, like, enter. There's a lot of stuff we could potentially not quite need here. Like, this could be a fluteless seed, this could be an ice rodless seed for whatever that's worth. But yeah, when those dungeons that you need a lot for are not required, all of a sudden you can start having these seeds where it's, you know, really wide open. You have to kind of make prioritizations about what you do. It's not like a strict progression. Like, you're kind of going to have a lot of dungeons unlocked all at once based on equipment. Like, even right now, we find the Moon Pearl. I mean, this is pretty common, but, you know, you have instantly, you've got I think, yeah, you've got Pod, you've got Thieves Town, you've got Skull Woods. Well, no, you can't quite do Pod. We need to find a bow yet. But yeah, a couple more items before the Moon Pearl, and all of a sudden that puts a lot of stuff in logic.
It's everyone's least favorite item to get in Hera.
I thought everybody's least favorite item was the small key. Unless that's what was picked up. I didn't see it.
That is what it was,
Okay,
yes.
perfect.
We did see either the map or the compass on the first floor, so we still got a 50-50 of dodging the basement for sure.
Yeah, Hera Basement is another one of those like potential. You can just kind of leave it if you're feeling lucky. Yeah, I find Moldorm is one of those bosses that kind of has a little bit of an arc to it. You know, it starts off when you're new at the game. It's kind of a tough, annoying boss, and then you start to understand its patterns, and it gets a lot easier. And then you start trying to do it fast, and it gets a lot harder again. If you're patient with this boss and you understand its movement, it's not too difficult, but the hammer can be a little tricky.
Yeah, I do prefer the hammer to, say, Master Sword spins, if that's my options, but nice sync from our runners here, both finishing Moldorm at about the same time.
Yeah, Indio lost any lead to that fall there. And I think technically that puts Emock ahead, because Emock went and has checked Desert Legend again, which Indio has not taken a look at yet. The most minor of leads, but a lead nonetheless.
I feel like the other thing about Moldorm is that he never fully goes away, right? Like, you know, when you get pretty good at this game, Armos is, you know, no problem. It's a fairly easy boss to get good at and to do really fast, right? Like, you never screw it up, but just Moldorm, sometimes he's just gonna knock you down no matter what.
Yeah, we have Indio getting a glance at the hookshot cave named exit item, the island in the sky, and it's the flippers, which Emock did not take a gander at. It's not really in the cards right now, but with the I think we need Mitts and Moon Pearl before we can grab that.
Yeah, we do have to bomb the back of Hookshot, so yeah, we can't do that in bunny mode, unfortunately.
And now here's the mother lode that we're hoping pays off. I mean, even if we don't get anything up here, at least we were able to clear a dungeon, so it's not all kind of sunk time. I feel like any time is worthwhile as long as you're making some sort of progress, doing something that you have to do at some point and now don't have to come back for. And there we go, Moon Pearl.
I'm glad that's basically the last chest that both of our runners had before going back to Eastern.
Yeah, and that Moon Pearl doesn't. Again, we do need Dark Mountain access, which I think always requires Mitts. So unfortunately, even though Indio does know that here, who took a look at it? I forget. Was it Emock? It's Emock. Okay, Emock's behind right now. So yeah, so Emock does know that that's up there, but can't take advantage of that information. Needs access to Dark Mountain. And yeah, we are seeing some overworld checks here, so neither runner opting to go directly to Village of Outcast and start clearing dungeons. Makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of checks left on here.
Yeah, particularly knowing that both of those dungeons over in the west side of Dark World are crystals. You really want at least one sword, since we've got that fire rod, and then we can do both of those dungeons.
Yeah, sword is required here for Skull Woods especially. Technically optional for Thieves Town.
Yeah, I was going to say, extremely convenient for Thieves Town to get on that blind script, but, you know, with Kane, it's not so bad, and our runners do have a decent amount of health.
Right, and with the mirror, we're going to be able to see Cave 45 here as well. And so now after this, the other option I feel like our runners have is, do you go and check the more out-of-the-way checks? Ooh, hook shot. And now this is a reason. Do you go and check like Pyramid Ledge and then maybe Catfish? Or do you just go straight to the Village of Outcasts and kind of do that corner that way?
Yeah, it's a little more tempting to do the Pyramid Catfish, right? Since you can hook across the river, you can pick up Graveyard Ledge and look at Bumper Ledge. But yeah, I think grabbing the dig game here makes the most sense, and then make the decision.
You take
after
this
that.
through to dig game for sure, but after that, it's where exactly are you going?
Yeah, there's definitely a save and quit out of here to some direction.
Oh, we do see Indio going somewhere. Okay, so yeah, Indio is opting to go straight to Thieves Town, Village of Outcasts, whereas Emock is going for the save and quit. At this point in the seed, I'm usually like keeping in the back of my mind all the time. Again, I'm always thinking about these isolated checks. Like, when are we going to check Catfish? And I'm always on the lookout for opportunities that present themselves. Because you can save yourself a lot of heartache if you manage to get something good on one of those isolated checks, and it's not, super inconvenient for you to do so. So let's see. Who is faster here? Was the save and quit faster than the mirror?
Yeah, my gut says it is, but But Indio was a little bit in the lead because of that floating island check, like you mentioned before, so...
Yeah, it's one of those things that's so paradoxical that, like, it's the route that Indio took seems just super good on paper. It's like, oh, you're right there, just go to the light world, go up, and you're there, but the travel time is actually so so significant. I think with boots, Indio's route would unequivocally be faster. Well, maybe not though, because Emock's got a lot of running to do too. A lot of straightaways. There's our sword.
And so now this definitely pays out, because now, even if we do wind up wanting to do some sort of catfish trip, I can just head across North Dark World after Thieves Town and Skull Woods, and, oh, well, that would involve some current jumping, I guess, to get across the river up there.
Yeah, it would, unless we go back up the mountain, find Mitts, and go get the flippers. But yeah, at this stage, I feel like you really want to be doing Thieves Town. Like, some newer runners may feel like, oh, I don't know, I might want to put it off here. But I think this should be enough health at this level of mail. It's not a particularly dangerous dungeon, and it's a good thing to reach for, to feel comfortable doing. Very comfortable doing Thieves Town at this kind of loadout. Yeah, and so we do see Emock retaking the lead here.
Yeah, the quick shopping trip for Indio might come in handy. It's one of the things, particularly as a newer runner, right, is it's sometimes difficult to you get rewarded for being realistic about, you know, what resources you need to get through a thing, right? Like if India's like, I really want these red potions and I'm going to be more comfortable with them in hand, absolutely go do it. It's worth the time.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of there's a certain amount that you have to sort of bet against yourself, sort of. But like, what's going to result in a better time for you rather than what's going to be faster than your opponent? Sometimes it's like, you know, even though this is slower than what your opponent's doing, if you tried to do the same thing, you'd get a slower time overall. So know thyself. Emot getting through the hellway there. That's one of the rooms that can give some people some trouble.
Also, hot take, hookshot's a really good item.
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard that before. I think it's fairly unpopular. People are always wondering why they keep putting it in Zelda. They were, you know, rejoicing when it didn't appear in Breath of the Wild.
Emock showing off yet another good use of that, which is just one-shotting these stupid caterpillars back here.
I think these enemies kind of have the honor of being referred to as the most different things of any enemy I've seen in any Zelda game, really. So I've heard them called crickets. I think they're lizards.
Yeah, they don't really look like caterpillars. I don't know how I wound up on that as the name, but here we are.
Like, if anything, maybe they're grasshoppers, but regardless, they do 2 hearts on green mail and have claimed more than a few careless runners up in the second floor there. We do not have the small key, so we do know that it is locked in the big chest. Makes this dungeon a little quicker.
Also makes it logically hammer locked, but since we have a hammer, that's fine.
Well, it's not logically hammer locked because blind can never have the small key, and you need the small key to get into the room with the big chest. So it just kind of cuts out a leg of the dungeon here.
Well, right, but if you didn't have the hammer but used
you
that
could
key,
you could steal the key. Yep. That's one of those who would ever do that logic things. But yeah, hammer was required to get here anyway. I'm sure the second glove upgrade is going to be hammer locked. A very nice fight there from Emock. I'm getting a little dicey there. Uses that red potion as Emock heads into Skull Woods.
Yeah, we see the red potion there. It's not just about making sure you don't die. It also just lets you kind of, you know, go crazy in the fight, right? Just go a little bit more recklessly and probably a little bit faster overall, so...
Okay, we do see 1 out of 2 items in Skull Woods there, popping right in the front for a quick check of that item. Here it pays off, actually. Now you know there's only potentially 1 item in the back. And I guess we're going to be checking this one too. Ooh, punished. Punished for going for that fairy. Indio opting to skip Skullwoods for now. Perhaps comfort level with that fight. Fighter Sword Moth is not anybody's favorite.
Yeah, I think Indio's got a red and a green in hand, though, so the green potion to just really spam the Fire Rod does certainly make the Moth fight a little bit easier.
Yeah, but it's like you were saying earlier, like this is one of those things where it's very much based on sort of runner comfort. You know, even though it's maybe more optimal to do Skullwoods now, if you're thinking, you know, I might use these potions and still end up screwing up that fight somehow, then often it'll be better to come back, if not overall in the race, for your own time, which is kind of what this is all about. You know, this is all a tournament about learning. So, you know, you're playing against yourself as much as you're playing against your opponent.
Yeah, it may also just be a routing thing, right? Like, if Indio doesn't want to leave these couple of checks out here, better to do them now, because, you know, you don't really want to walk your way back out of Skull Woods after you finish it, so...
It's true, yeah, not if you can help it. And Indio doesn't know that the flippers are up on the mountain. Otherwise, you know, going all this way would actually be really nice, because you could go, if you somehow found the flippers here, then you go to Catfish, Mirror, check, you know, you get 4 or 5 checks just over there, just for crossing the river.
Emock unfortunately getting trolled a little bit by the Wall Master there. I do think, though, especially with Mirror, I would definitely be checking that bridge chest before heading back to Mothula in this case.
Yeah, well, you know, you already have 1 out of 2 items, so it's possible that once you beat Mothula, you don't need to check any other dungeons. But yeah, you know, just checking it just in case it's something useful. But since you want to be clearing this anyway, I think doing a boss and then the other chest is defensible, because you got to do this one either way. The chest you might not have to do at all.
Yeah, it's fair. It's similar to saving, like, the torches check in Misery Mire until after you beat Vidi, that kind of thing. I just feel like this is a significantly faster check, so, and it just feels bad when you pick up a sword right after you beat Moth, but once again, if
well, I mean, we do have, I just noticed we have all 4 bottles already, and 2 of them have green potion in them for Emock, and so that's a very quick kill. Unfortunately, it is just a big key. Could lead to an item, but...
But yeah, I think the, you know, if your plan was already just drink a green potion and spam fire rod shots, then, you know, it makes sense to go straight for the boss there.
Indio taking the Death Warp rather than the Mirror. Probably due to low health. That would be my guess. The heart reset can often make that worth it, even though it's a little bit slower. Yeah, Ether there, actually a really nice way to take care of all of those Gibdos there. Doesn't use too much magic, and isn't that slow. Ether and Quake both being a little bit faster than Bombos. We do see Emock setting up for a bomb jump here. Demonstrating perfectly why I hate bomb jumps. Time spent doing that, I could have just gone the normal way.
Yeah, we saw both of our runners opt out of the Tower of Hera bomb jump, which I think made sense. Didn't have a sword, so definitely makes the setup trickier. One thing I would
Yeah.
suggest to runners is in a situation like this, um, practice doing the hammer hit just as Mothula becomes vulnerable, right? Because that's the same as 2 fire rod shots, um, and so that can really get you a nice start on this fight.
Yeah, I mean, this is also kind of the point too, where it's like, okay, you want safety here. You gotta play it safe. You don't want to die here. That was ooh, really good last hit there.
Sometimes you just gotta YOLO it, you know?
Honestly, I feel like the adrenaline of clutching a good moment, it for me is far better than the adrenaline of winning a race. Maybe that's just me, but like I love just the moment. It's like I don't care if I lose this race. At least I didn't lose time to that boss fight, and that feels good. It's the payoff for believing in yourself.
All right, so both of our runners finishing Thieves and Skull Woods here. Where are we going next?
That's a very good question. I feel like a pod dip isn't out of the question because there's so much stuff in there, and being a well, no, it's not a pendant. It's pendant turtle rock. If it was pendant pod, then that would be really attractive because you may not have to go back. But that's kind of the highest density. It's not like a super attractive play though. See Emock going for Ice Rod. Skipped that earlier. Now we could see fake flippers for the flippers checks, especially since with that knowledge of where the flippers are, it keeps the logic a little bit easier to track if it becomes important. Yeah, opting to leave the hobo check and just go for the 2, 3 really up here. Only one of which is in logic, but knowing exactly what the flippers are behind does impact things a little bit here, I would think. Ooh, and Indio gets wall mastered.
Ooh, yeah, just not having a pleasant time in front of Skull Woods here.
Does have the extra key though, can get back pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think on the whole, knowing that the flippers are behind the mitts, and there's not actually a whole lot else we need for go mode here. There's maybe a little bit less value in the fake flippers, but yeah, with Zora being actually in logic, you know, you are getting this check out of the way as well, so...
Yeah, and you get to set up the water block here, which is always fun. Feels very powerful.
And looks like India was thinking about the pod and eastern sort of Oh, flute on Zora!
Yeah, that's big for Emock. Because that is that logical mountain access.
Yes, because we had that glove, yep.
Yeah, because it was between Zora and Eastern Palace. So it could be Eastern Palace is empty.
Yep, our
That's a
restreamer.
big find.
Yeah, secretly a sliver in chat there talking about, you know, not skipping that mountain access. You really are taking the 50-50 of, like, am I skipping a lamp or am I skipping a flute?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the logic break of the mountain was indefensible there, because again, like, I don't feel like we overall lost time by doing that. But yeah, the issue is that you don't, by not avoiding that logic break, you don't force yourself to find the important thing there. Now Indio is going to be able to avoid it for a while longer, and Flute being a really impactful one to find differently. But on the other hand, there we go, and there's the mitts right there on the pyramid ledge. So I wonder if Indio abandons the plan, of going into pod. So now there's all sorts of stuff. Goes up the mountain, so might find that find the flippers and kind of get there, a couple minutes later. Who knows?
And there are some weird follow-on effects here, right? Because as we see Emock now going to pod by way of just fluting to 5 instead of going past the pyramid like Indio did, that might slow down any trip to the pyramid to get those mitts, or just put it after this very lengthy pod clear.
Yeah, and really, once you have the flute, there are very few reasons, especially really the only thing I can think of is maybe going to check catfish and combining that with pyramid ledge, because otherwise you can't combine it with the pyramid fairy, because swamp is our other 5/6 crystal, which is locked behind the mitts because the flippers are behind it. So you're not going to be able to get the flippers unless you've already gone to pyramid ledge. So it could be that Emock finds that that pyramid ledge check late, but then again, it being the mitts, it does lock a lot of stuff, so you could end up there sooner than you'd think.
And just back to our previous discussion about Zora, I was going to say, I think this was just jumping the mountain, I think, was a really good idea this time around for the runners, because they also didn't have the money for Zora, so it's like, do you really want to invest the time farming and walking to Zora as opposed to just going to the mountain? So I think the runners made the right decision, absolutely, but sometimes rando gonna rando, so...
Well, especially for one check, too, because we didn't have the Moon Pearl at the time, which is required to check those other 2 checks out of logic. Yeah, now we also bear in mind here, Indio did not know, I believe Indio was the one who did not know that the flippers were there. I didn't catch if they checked or not.
Yes, they did see those flippers, so...
Okay. Yeah.
But even bigger news, that book, actually really big for Indio, doesn't need the flute to get into desert anymore. Although desert's also a pendant, so never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and so is Meyer. So the flute not necessarily required for a dungeon, but it does allow you to get around a lot easier. Now, do you take the time here to go all the way over to... No, you don't, do you? Because you don't have any of the items, the invincibility items for Spike Cave?
Correct. So I
Ooh.
think that's not going to be in logic. Okay, nice potion camera unlock over from Emock.
Flute versus boots. We had the boots there in Super Bunny. Ooh, nice heads up with that, finding that book, going over to the Ether tablet there. Emock unfortunately failing that camera unlock trick there.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you kind of need to kill the green mimics before you start trying to manipulate the red one, or you sort of run into that problem that that Emock just hit right there.
I mean, I imagine we're gonna see another try, right? Or no, maybe just the back, because we do have that small key.
Yeah, as opposed to...
Meanwhile, Indio's just kind of off to the races here.
Yeah. I was going to say, in response to what you said before, I will take boots and mitts over a flute that's not logically required. or at least not logically required for any crystals, pretty much any day.
Yeah, it was looking rough for Indio when that flute came up. It's like, when is Indio going to be checking that? But then we see those mitts, and now we don't know when Emock's going to get those. And unfortunately, on kind of a wild goose chase here in Pod. Best case scenario for Emock here, a bow shows up here in the back. But no, I guess that's well, yeah, no, it could be because there are two bows.
Oh, and it looks like Indio is headed up toward the Zora area, has the money in hand.
Yeah, makes sense, especially once you get those flips. Which I believe it's not on the tracker, but I saw Indio pick those up, so.
And never mind,
well,
that
maybe
was
not.
just a trip to the potion shop.
I don't think that makes any sense. Why would you avoid the flute?
Yeah, just go where the flute is, 5-head.
Yeah, and then Emock heading to Eastern. Yeah, really just hoping to find the bow. Like, I've been in that scenario before where it's like, I mean, surely the bow's going to be in here. You know, what other things are there to check? You know, something's got to be here.
Yeah, so I think this is where the fact that the myth locks so much is going to be good for Emock, right? Because sooner or later it'll just be like, well, you know, if you get out of Eastern with nothing, it's just you flute back to 5, you go to the Dark World, and then you do Pyramid Catfish, right? Because again, what else do you have?
Yeah, I mean, mitts, like, interestingly, are not a terrible item to find late. Like, you can find mitts long after your opponent and still have a chance to win the race sometimes. I recall a particular, I think it was, I'm gonna mess this up, but it was a race in 2020. It was Lyn versus Vortex of Dune, where Vortex forgot the he missed the glove on Dam, just completely missed it and saw it again when he was going into Swamp, and ended up winning that race miraculously.
So I think another thing that could help Emock potentially, right, is beelining the mire area after the myths, right? Because if there's a bow just in Mire Shed, then all of a sudden, like, Emock's going to be go-moding this dungeon that Indio is full clearing.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
So
it
there's
has
some
to
things
be.
like that to buy time.
It's gonna have to be a bow somewhere. That's kind of Emock's out, is finding a bow somewhere relatively soon that India's not going to be checking.
Yeah, because I mean, we're in bow plus sword mode at this point, right? So we don't have to worry about medallions because both Mire and Turtle Rock are pendants.
Yeah, but the scary thing with both medallion dungeons being pendants is that you never know what things might be inside them that you need. There's a nice diver down there from Indio.
I lost track of our items in Swamp. What's the left side situation here?
I have also lost track. kind of been watching Emock to see if there's anything that's going to get him back into the race. We may be seeing that pyramid check here. Yeah, I can't imagine we're seeing anything else here. The unenviable task of Fighter Sword Argus. Only slightly better than Swordless Argus.
Yeah, you gotta get double spins to one-shot the puffs.
Yeah, I find Swordless Argus is actually easier, it's just slower.
Back in my day, kids, before we had your fancy quick swap all the time, we called this the menu fight because you would just hook shot two things and then swap to the hammer.
And there we go. There's the mitts for Emock. But now the question is, having, you know, dipped into two unclearable dungeons first, do you try to make a sort of non-meta play and delay going up the mountain rather than making that obvious play? Looks like we're seeing at least a little bit. Probably going to check Catfish first, which I think in that situation is very good to do. Because this is kind of the last chance to ever check Catfish. Go, just in the last bit of magic there. Get the fabled bombs of destiny from Argus and Crystal. Yeah, nothing too fancy on Catfish, unfortunately. So, yep, we do see up the mountain. Meanwhile, India's cruising. We're gonna be seeing Ice Palace here, I imagine, maybe?
Yeah, that's that way.
Yeah, now here, I would love to see Indio check Hobo. In this situation, I would like to check Hobo, because if that's a sword, that's gonna make Cold Stare quite a bit easier. Yeah, I also like here what we're seeing from Emock here, going into the Dark World via the TR portal, just so you have the opportunity to open the dungeon. In case you find yourself in a situation where you gotta come in later. Unfortunately, oh, we're actually not seeing that. Yeah, I guess I suppose it is faster to go up this way and then check from the top down. I feel like I would still open the dungeon anyway, just to be safe. Probably doesn't cost that much time, just feels good.
Yeah, and I think the pathing here is planning to flute away from the floating island. You know, gonna head into Super Bunny Cave first.
India's losing a little bit of time here to, again, this check that you left early game. You know, a lot of the time they are weighing on your mind. You have to decide when to get them eventually. You know, one of my favorite things to see in races is what does a runner do when they're, you know, they make a little bit of an oopsie, and you know you find yourself diving 2 dungeons you can't clear and get nothing for it. Like, and how does that alter their decision making? Like, is Emock going to make an interesting play regarding that book? Are we gonna, you know, let's go into desert? Maybe we need to go into desert. It's always interesting to see. Sometimes some people keep cool and just stay the course, and some people go crazy.
Yeah, and this spot in particular, it's already, I think, it's a coin flip, right? Of whether you go straight to Swamp, which is a crystal dungeon that you can full clear, right? Do you check out a little bit of Misery Mire first? And is Emock's decision influenced by sort of where they feel they are in the race?
Yeah, I mean, regardless, I think Emock finishes this up in just a swamp. Because now you got those flippers you needed for swamp. Yeah, imagine we're stopping for some potions here first. But yeah, like I feel like at this point there's really no argument against going to swamp. I mean, you could come up with one, but there's a lot of items in there, and you have to do it anyway. So chances are good that you find something good that you want to find there.
Yeah, I mean, the argument against Swamp, I'll take the bait, right, is that if you find a bow in Mire Shed, you get to go mode Swamp, right?
True.
And since, it's some quick overworld checks to do like Mire Shed and Checkerboard, there's an argument for that, right? I'm not saying we do Smith Chain now by any stretch, right? But some quick overworld stuff might be worth it.
Ooh, are we gonna be seeing? We're seeing ice first. I guess that makes sense. Like going to, I was wondering why we were going to the potion shop before swamp, but going to potion shop before ice makes a lot of sense.
And I gotta say, this Ice Rush is interesting, right? Because it sort of threads the needle between, right, like the book play is Swamp because it has more items, but Ice is also a crystal. It might help you, pick up a little bit of time on your opponent if they're putting off Ice in favor of Swamp, right? So I like this play.
Yeah, and also this is it's one of those things where you want to prioritize what you're going to lose less time go moding. So ice in go mode is not going to be too much faster. Swamp in go mode a lot faster. So, and the fact that you've cleared basically you've cleared Eastern and Pod, those are go mode as well whenever you return to them. Sure, you did the double dip, but Indio's gonna have to do those dungeons, gonna have to open at least some of those doors, some of those chests. I don't recall if we had Eastern Big Key Vanilla, but that's time Emock is not gonna have to take.
Should shout out the nice icebreaker from both of our runners there. Emock using the nice pause buffer to get the down right input at the very beginning of it. I didn't see how Indio did it, but got through it pretty fast, so.
Yeah, this is a remarkably easy trick to do once you know it exists. Yeah, and we are getting confirmation that we did have the vanilla EP Big Key, so that's a little bit of time save for Emock on the return trip to Eastern. Indio's gonna have to go to the back. Unfortunately, still no bow. Yeah, I also don't remember if we saw left side skip from Indio. But yeah, if we're... I can't imagine we did. Because I feel like you don't need bow for 2 dungeons and... Oh wow, so yeah, there's one item left side, so yeah, who knows? Maybe that's gonna bite Indio now.
Yeah, I mean, the longer we go without finding bow, right, the more likely it is that things are going to swing back here, right? Because if Indio runs out of stuff to do, and it becomes, oh, I time to dip Pod on Eastern, well then,
Yeah. Yeah, I still kind of feel right now advantage Indio, but Emock's got a lot more ways back into this than it looked 10 minutes ago.
I mean, I think the being 20 rupees short of buying that flute was very unfortunate for Indio, because when are you going to have time to get back up there?
Yeah. also feel like that's very classic. It's rather than going above the block to push it down a pixel, just place another one. I don't know if it really doesn't save that much time, but it feels faster. Just enough there. We do get the corral a little bit, and now we're gonna be pumping that fire rod into it. Okay, things get a little hairy pretty quickly for both runners. Still looking pretty good for Emock here. We are on green mail though, so we gotta watch ourselves. And there we go, an expensive fight, but not too bad for Emock. And Indio's gonna be wrapping it up shortly. So now, what is Emock's next goal? And for that matter, Indio's. Okay. Well, I was thinking this was going to be Pyramid, but no, we didn't clear Pod. So I suppose it could be Bombos, but you'd think you'd like to do that along with Smith Chain, Purple Chest. No, maybe not, because we did clear all of the intervening checks, so you don't really need to do them together. Oh no, yeah, just Swamp. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I thought we might see the Bombos check from Indio, right? Who hasn't done a Gina yet? Is that right? And might be thinking about a desert dip as well, right? So that could be a thing to sort of chain together, you know, run down there on your way to desert, but he's going to do this Pod Eastern dip here.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because, you know, there's, between these two dungeons, there's, what, 8 items? Logically, there's a lot that could be bow-locked, but it's not, it's very not unheard of to find a bow in Pod. I mean, even in bow-locked Pod, I've seen it happen many times where, you know, you get the logical silvers as their first bow by doing, like, the potion unlock.
Yeah, that's one of the joys of progressive bows that we've all come to love.
Yeah, I remember the days. The days of AG. Like, boy, I wish I could shoot these silvers at something. Only there was some method of propulsion.
Just Link running around trying to throw silver arrows at things. But yeah, we find ourselves in the sort of rando classic here as our runners have one item that's being extremely elusive and they've just swapped places, so we'll see who gets through the other half that they haven't done yet faster.
Yeah, worth noting, Indio does have the boots here, which Emock did not have the luxury of.
So this is a pretty minor thing, but I do have a firm opinion about it, which is in this spot for Indio, I think you do Pod first every time. Because I think you're more likely to find something you need for Pod, so something that helps in Eastern, i.e. a bow in Pod, than the other way around.
Yeah, I could see the argument though if Indio's not brushed up on the potion unlock, that risking that is going to be some time. If it ends up being necessary, but yeah, like most of the time, like you want to do Pod first. You're seeing the bomb set up here. Now, do you want to see Emock go in and check left side? I kind of do. I don't know if it's a good idea, but I want to see it because I want to know what's over there.
I'd say it's one of those things that intellectually I know, right? It's way more likely that you lose a race by not checking left side than that you lose a race by checking it. Right? Because, like, sure, it takes 2 minutes, but how often do you lose a race by 2 minutes? Right? So often it's you lose by 5 or 10 because of something you didn't find, right? But the really close finishes are rare. But I still skip left side a lot.
Yeah, maybe I'm just a junkie for the gamble one, the adrenaline of that. I used to check tile room third in GT an awful lot of the time until I got sick of losing that gamble. Maybe I should start doing it again though. It always feels good.
Listen, 5% of the time it works every time.
Yeah, both runners having a little bit of trouble here with this Argus fight, not really getting the rod set up. Alright, so small question, does Emock go back in just to make sure everything's all squared up in there, or do we just expect that it's just the lost cause? Go get working on something else. Okay, we're not going back in. But we're also not going for Bombos.
Yes, this may be a mistrack
Emock
on the red crystals.
Yeah, I think forgetting that pod wasn't actually cleared. Yeah, even with a mentor, these things happen. I remember my mentee's race last week. We both kind of spaced that that Ice Palace was a dungeon we didn't need to do. And I was like, we got all the way to the bottom. I was like, oh, that was a pendant, right?
Yeah, we've definitely all been there.
Oh, right. You do need the Master Sword to check tablets. And we're still on Fighter Sword. You could check it, find out what's on it. But yeah, we can't actually get the item. I feel like you want to check Meyer Shed here, because we got 3 items over there, plus 2 in Desert.
Yeah, I suppose... Yeah, I would have been real tempted by Bombo's tablet into maybe dipping front of Desert if Meyer Shed comes up dry.
Yeah, Mushroom's nice here. Gives us a chance to pick up some whatchamacall, some potions.
It is hard, though, because we're at the point in the seed where there's, you know, a check here, a check there, kind of all over the place. Emock had Hobo to clean up, the mushroom check, right? So it's just like, how do you string these checks together in a reasonable way?
Yeah, I mean, this is starting to seem like it's going to be a rather exciting fit. Ooh, yeah, Emock's got to spend a little bit of time doing these checks, but nice to be able to wrap them in with the mushroom turn-in. I'm not a huge fan of Indio doing Agina first here, so I feel like you, at the very least, want to do... Oh, and no, because Indio didn't get the flute.
Yeah.
Yeah. In which case, your fandom is re-earned. I revoke my fan revocation. I'm still an Indio fan. But now, surely now we see Emock head to... what are we seeing Emock doing now? Maybe Smith Chain? Smith Chain isn't crazy here.
Oh, are we gonna read a little pedestal?
We could. Actually, you know, at this point, with things this restricted, this is actually a I wouldn't say it's necessarily a great play, but especially like if you're feeling like you could be a little bit behind. Once you start running out, then you maybe start reaching for these things where it's like, maybe I could get some knowledge that my opponent probably isn't going to have. Okay. It could have paid off. I mean, especially with all of the necessary items for all of our pendant dungeons. And you get the quick combo of Mire and Desert. I actually kind of like checking that before going to Mire, because if you find out that that's something you need to do, then you can prioritize doing those dungeons while you're here. Now you know you don't need to do that, but...
And we got a little bombos on Mire there anyway.
Yeah, though, you know, Silver in chat also mentioning it's like, you could just spend the time just doing the dungeons anyway and crossing your fingers.
I think if there were dungeons that were shorter than Turtle Rock, you know, maybe I would be more inclined to go in that direction, but... The other thing I gotta say, I was not a fan of Indio checking Agina, but then not dipping into Desert. Right?
Yeah,
and
I feel like...
kind of heading for some one-offs up here.
Yeah, I feel like you'd want to... Like, they're not, like, super quick, you know, to check front of Desert and then Agina. So I kind of get doing Agina first, because, like, if it's on Agina, you don't want to just... you know, put it off for an extra 2-3 minutes or whatever, but... I mean, yeah, like, this is... Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, India's about to get the flute anyway, right? So getting back to Desert's gonna be fast, so it's fine, but just with the information they had, I would have gone into Desert there.
Well, I was gonna say, this is also the part of these seeds where, like, you start, like, reaching at straws, because it's not very often that you, like, kind of... I mean, it happens, but it's not every seed that you're reaching this far in, and it's like, yeah, I'm still not finding what I need. I really got to start full clearing stuff. So usually you can skip stuff here and there, and you're fine, but now it's like, okay, well, what have I not found?
I mean, but if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that there has never in the history of Rando ever been a bow in Turtle Rock, so...
I can't deny that. I can't prove that that's false. I wonder if this leads Indio to do Smith Chain, because those are some checks we haven't seen yet. I mean, maybe you follow it directly to Mire. Like, that makes tons of sense too, but there's a case to be made for it would be better content to check that stuff here.
Yeah, I think I do like the Mire Shed at least, right? Because, you know, yes, you're close to Smith Chain while you're there in the village, but you have a flute, you're always close to Smith Chain, right? So...
Yeah, counterpoint, the people want to know. People want to know what's on Smith Chain.
Also, X Ken and X in chat is suggesting Bombos and Mimic Cave to Misery Mire for Bow. Also, they're a fan of ranged top laners, so instant ban.
Yeah, actually, you know, not having Bombos here could be a blessing in disguise, because it kind of also takes, like, okay, you have 2 items in Mire, but also Green Pendant. So even though we know Pet is dead, there's always the Green Pendant. So I'm sure Emock is really wishing Desert was the Green Pendant instead. Is taking the time to do the dungeon for a pendant you know you don't need.
Yeah, it feels like both of our runners are going to come down to the Smith Chain or Turtle Rock or maybe Mimic Cave first, and looks like Emock is going Smith Chain.
Yeah, I mean, you do Smith Chain, because, like, you get this deep into the scene, and it's like, okay, like, are you really going to leave some stuff on the overworld for a Turtle Rock dive? Because you can pretty safely assume your opponent's going to last location anything in Turtle Rock too. It's I feel like I've had races where, you know, I make an aggressive Turtle Rock play and it pays off, and it still doesn't make that much difference. Or, like, you know, it kind of doesn't help as much as you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, this is the hard thing about Rando, right? Is that, like, there are some overworld checks, like, say, Mire Shed, right, that I do easily before I go to Pendant Turtle Rock, right? But then, like, Smith Chain just feels so borderline on whether that's the right idea or not.
Yeah, I mean, this Smith Chain in particular isn't too bad. You know, you got hammer pegs, but you've got flute and mirror, and you've checked all of the stuff in between, so it's not as bad as it sometimes is.
Yeah, and you even don't really have to worry about Bombo's tablet, because even if the answer is Bombo's tablet, you got to find a sword first before you can get there, so you're still going to Turtle Rock.
Yeah, actually, Emock can't fake powder here because we did get the turn in. It was turned in. Wow, vanilla sword on Smiths. I mean, that kind of pays off. But yeah, fake powder actually not on the table here because the mushroom was in fact given away. Didn't see a save scum. I don't think. Yeah, because we save and quit shortly afterwards.
And yeah, Emock with that Master Sword now is going to take the Dark World route down to turn in the Smith Chain and get the Bombo's tablet afterwards. I think without our friend, the chest glitch here, this would be slower. If you had to walk all the way down, right, this would be slower than a save and quit.
For
You
sure.
go through the portal again, but...
Yeah, and I often see people like going really risky, really risking a mirror bonk there to check that, but I don't know. I always play it safe. Okay, wow, just 3 bombs. We do have the Cane of Burna, so do you check Spike Cave before going into Turtle Rock here?
Gosh, I probably don't. But once again, totally reasonable if you want to.
Yeah, like, it's a pretty big delay for, you know, the chance that it could be in TR. You know, it's so much higher. It's all other things, because I don't remember if we have any other dangling checks, but it's like, you know, it's 6 to 1. But if it is in here, it's faster than anything in TR, basically. Unless it's in one of the first couple chests.
Imagine we found Bombos here. Oh, there
we go.
It is.
And that's where my gut tells me to check Turtle Rock, and I feel like that's happened more than once where I'm like, okay, it's either Spike Cave or somewhere in TR, and my gut tells me to go into TR, and then I do all of TR, and then my gut feels very sad. Because all I needed to do was anything else. And yeah, there we have, that is go mode for Emock.
And I gotta say, you know, the both of our runners have pretty much played the back half of the seed very similarly, right? We did slightly different orders for the ice and swamp and pod EP dips, but you know, our runners kind of wound up converging at the end of that. So
Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you have a bow in a location like Spike Cave, and no like real reason to check it earlier. Is that you kind of get both runners ending up putting off the same things. The one thing you can see sometimes is like that's where you start to see differences in routing kind of start to show up, where it's like if one runner is routing significantly less efficiently, then they're kind of bleed time all throughout that stage. And I would say that's what we've seen here, but I think a lot of it is just flute diff.
yeah, I was gonna say some of that is the inefficiencies, like Indio having been up into the northeast corner several times, but yeah, it also is just Emock getting the flute first as opposed to the mitts first. That does make all of that routing and pathing around so much easier. So. And also that Berna was pretty deep in the logic, right? Since it was locked behind boots that took both of our runners a while to get.
Shout out to this track. This is one of my favorite tracks in all of Tears of the Kingdom. At least I think I'm remembering what this is from right. Yeah, we do see Indio heading to a TR instead. I have seen this happen before. Oh, I forget who it was, but it was a race years ago where one of the runners, found a bow, the other skipped it, and then the other runner found the other bow on a Hail Mary green pendant turn in. Well, that was that was a sight to behold. I don't even remember who won. I just remember that moment was super hype. But yeah, that bow is going to have to be pretty quick here to get India back in this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, even the advantages that there are left to get, like a tempered sword. I don't, at the rate that Indio is kind of going to be bleeding time without this bow, going to be really tough to get back in.
Yeah, it's kind of in the... We have officially reached the realm of this is Emock's race to lose, As long as everything goes relatively smoothly here, India's going to have a tough time catching up. Because there's a certain amount of time that can be made up with the GT routing. If we get early big key and then light for the other, but... There's just not as much difference in how people route GT as there used to be.
All the more reason to bring back those tile room gambles.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I feel like it used to be more common for people to be running, full left or full right. But now so many people just kind of do the dark magician as it's come to be called, even though it's technically only half dark magician, but where you prioritize the front half chests. and because that kind of hedges your bets in case you just pick the wrong side. Kind of covers both fast key options.
Yeah, I mean, in GT, you've got to pick something as the last room you're going to go to. So it's like, you know, one way it's compass room, another way rando room is the last thing you do. If you do, like, yeah, Stalfos into full right, you just got to kind of pick something and go with it, I think.
Yeah, like Stalfos half right, I think kind of it I feel like it minimizes the chances that you lose to the decision you made in GT. You know, like, because really you're only going to lose to the GT decision if it's in one of those early chests and you get it late. So you just make sure you get all the early chests relatively early, and then if it's in a late chest, you know, so be it. Get some wonderful trombone action in here.
And there is crystal number 7 over on Emock's side.
Yeah, and that means it's time to guess which chest the big key is going to be in, huh?
Yeah, I guess if chat's into that sort of thing, put in your number 1 through 22.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with I usually go with 3 just to symbolize hope left, hope right tile room, but I think today I'm gonna go with a healthy 11. I'm gonna agree with Fernap here.
I guess I'll take 8.
Man, Turtle Rock is such a sneaky dungeon, I feel, because it's like there's a lot of items in there, but they're all at the very end. Like you could get some stuff early, but like chances are so high that it's just like the payoff is at the end of this relatively long dungeon, and just like every time I go in there as like a density play, I end up regretting it. I was like, oh, this was not worth it. Getting some nice laser dodges there, Indio. That one was less impressive, as was that one.
Nicely timed heart refill, though.
Yeah, Indio finishing up this unfortunately unnecessary dungeon as Emock heads into GT. The choice to do TR actually makes a little bit more sense, given that you haven't checked PED and you don't know necessarily that it's dead. It's like, you know what, like let's just do TR. Hope we find it in there, and if not, maybe it's on PED. But I think the choice to do Spike Cave first actually makes a little bit more sense, knowing that there's no chance you have to do PED, so there won't even be the consolation prize. We are seeing some Hammer Trinex here. It does get a little out of hand. We are going to be seeing some ice on the ground. Haven't been counting these chests.
So that was 5. We went directly left there.
Ooh, are we gonna? Ooh, don't quite dodge the ice on the ground. Unfortunate. Hammer Trinex definitely worth grabbing there. And yeah, we did get that in yeah, was that chest 6?
Yes, number 6.
But yeah, for any other fellow mentees watching here, Hammer Trinex actually well worth practicing because it can be very consistent if you practice with it and you kind of know what you're doing. If it starts getting out of hand, you can lose quite a bit of time to it, and if you're on low defensive power, you can even take a death to it, which is never any fun.
Yeah, I definitely, when I came back to Link to the Past after a while, I died to Trinex more times than I would care to admit. So, but another thing to keep in mind is if you've got half magic, you can just spam fire rod shots at the second head, and just take it all the way down that way, which can prevent, save you some of that menuing and the dealing with the hammer hitbox that's such a pain.
Yeah, I mean, but as with all things, like the hammer hitbox, you do learn it eventually. You do get better at it the more you use it. So it's the same reason people say to always finish the seeds, because actually, I was talking about this with my mentee last week. Is that the Ganon fight is in my opinion one of the best boss fights in the game, because it's very overwhelming the first time you play the game and you get to it and it's like, wow, this is crazy. But once you get to it, it's a very, very consistent fight, and you can do it with all sorts of different levels of gear. But the only way you get the practice is by finishing every seed you play.
Yeah, that's good advice for any speedrunning you're doing, right? Like, make sure you're always practicing the back half, right? It's so easy to reset so often and be good at the first 10 minutes of your speedrun, but then the later bits struggle.
And I mean, why do we speedrun if not to just play the whole game in microcosm? I want to go on the whole Link to the Past journey, but, in less than the 24 hours it took me.
I definitely remember playing this game back in the, rental era when you had, like, a long weekend to play as much of the video game as you could. Those were good times.
Imagine we see Emock grab these chests. Because if they contain the silvers, that's an easy, easy final phase for Ganon. Oh man, that's one of those things you always hope to see, but never think you actually will. Ooh, taking the fall. For some reason, that is stuck in my brain. This boss is Moldorm 3 in my head, and Moldorm 2 doesn't exist. But I think it's because the Lanmas are also worms, and this is the third boss. I'm just like, oh yeah, it's Moldorm 3. I've said that on stream a number of times, been corrected. It doesn't stop. My brain still goes there. But there we go. That is the last new item we are liable to see in this race here.
Yeah, I guess there is a world where we open up the pyramid and go looking for some vanilla silvers or sword upgrades, but
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you know, you're an hour 40 in, you're like, oh, I'm doing silverless. Did get a nice double hit there. And here we go. We're into the Ganon fight. It is Master Sword, so these first couple phases are gonna take a little bit longer than usual. Yeah, and like Sliver says, I always think that that's Silver and it's Sliver, secretly a Sliver. But yeah, just like that, it can be dangerous, especially if you do try to go for speed. This is one of those fights where you can play it slow and safe, especially once you know the patterns. But once you try to speed it up, that's when things start to get dangerous for you. Especially during phase 2, because the price for overextending in phase 2 is very hefty.
Yeah, I think the thing I run into on phase 2 so often is there are some where I just am not confident. Some spots he could be standing where I'm so not confident in getting hits that then I feel like
Yeah.
I need to go crazy on the other ones.
Case in point, that's a bad one. And you know, especially if you're a bit newer to the game, like I always say, there's no shame in just like waiting out one of these phases, because the worst thing you can do is take too many extra hits and have to start over. And it feels really bad when you're like, you know, you're trying to go fast, because it's like, okay, the more time I spend, the more I get hit. I want to take care of it fast to get out of this phase. But once you actually spend time and like learn these patterns, it's actually relatively easy to avoid getting hit as long as you play conservatively. And sometimes you're shocked at how much faster it goes. It's like, ah, but I wasted so much time. How is this so fast?
Oh, nice quick double there.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, especially with Master Sword, that you get good at is you get good at spotting those and being there to take advantage of them. And we've already got the cane out, so this is going to be the end of phase 2 here. Extra lag frames. Complete scrub behavior here from Emock. Yeah, and phase 3 actually can be a little bit harder than you expect too with the Master Sword, because it's a lot harder to get that immediate hit, and you can get those surprise bats sometimes. Like they're just a little bit too slow, because you have to be charging it up. You need the spins. Oh, going for the no torch glitch here. I'm just going for the safe singles. Yeah, that's practice there, because like you see, you know you're not going to have enough time for the next hit, so you just get ready to light the torches again. And get your GGs in chat for Emock81 finishing with an official time of, wait for it, yeah, 144.44. And we got Indio trailing behind, picking up some potions for the tower climb, and but yeah, I think we're gonna see if we can't get our runner in here for an interview.
And while we have a second, a good time to once again thank all of our broadcast crew here. Secretly a Sliver doing the restreaming, Amphalis doing the tracking for us, and of course, shout out to both of these runners who agreed to have their race broadcast. It's a little bit of a scary thing to do when you're a newer runner to the game, but very great learning experience for everyone who's watching, so thank you to them, and be sure to head over to their channels and give them a follow.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if we'll see just a right side dip here from Indio. Get that GT key lickety split, because if I remember right, there was a small key in the other chest there.
Seed really going for maximum cruelty, by the way. All those checks in Turtle Rock and still not a sword anywhere in there.
Yeah, as usual in a seed like this where everything's late, you kind of expect just everything's just gonna be in GT, probably past the big key. Ooh, we are seeing right side here. Nice little. Oh no, it wasn't a key, but we do get one in the right on the torch here, if I remember correctly. So. All right, and we are joined here by our winner of this race, Emock. GG's.
Hey, everyone. Hey, thank you. that
So,
man.
yeah, just go ahead. Give us your thoughts. Lay it on us.
Well, I mean, it was funny because we were really just. I was a little nervous about, okay, let's skip left side swamp, and then when we're still missing stuff here and there, and it's like, well, it's only one item there. We still had Turtle Rock and Logic, so after Spike, that's where we were going to be heading. But as soon as we found that bow, man, rough spot for it. I don't remember exactly where we got Burner to finally put that in Logic, but it was. I mean, I had enough health probably to do it without it anyway. But
yeah, you didn't even use Myrna.
Yeah,
or you did very briefly.
I did at the end.
You had enough health.
Yeah, if I would have hook shot to the rock, I probably could have done it without using it, but I just played it safe. But yeah, it was that early glove, and I figured with in Dark Cross was nice. Kind of led us to sequence breaking the mountain a little bit and getting some of those things done, which I'm guessing that probably got me Moon Pearl pretty quick, but
yeah, well, that kind of happened. You both kind of went on that same route until kind of the middle of the seed. You both sequence broke up the mountain.
Okay.
You both got that glove, and really it didn't diverge until you were both doing like the Village of Outcasts area, and I forget exactly how it happened, but you ended up getting the flute a little sooner, whereas Indio ended up getting the mitts on the pyramid a bit quicker.
Okay.
And you ended up getting the better part of that exchange, because the middle of the seed was kind of a mess. It was a very interesting watch.
Well, because we were going the dungeon density play, and of course both flute and mitts overworld checks, and they're just sitting out there, right? So Zora had the flute, I believe, right, and then the mitts just sitting in pyramids. So we were we were at the point where we had mitts and I think catfish left. And once we grabbed the mitts, obviously a whole lot of other stuff opened up, so that was really helpful. But yeah, it was just funny because we kind of felt bad after doing the pod Easter, and then I screwed up the mimic room after trying to do the potion glitch, which was really kind of funny. But we ended up figuring out, okay, it was only the big key and a small key, so it didn't really it didn't affect much in the end, which was nice.
Yeah, that was one of those things where it really started looking pretty dire because here Indio is just cruising, haven't found the mitts and all that stuff. We went up the mountain, found the flippers, just clearing dungeons while you're piddling around in these pendant dungeons that or these crystal dungeons you can't clear because you need the bow, and turned out that both of you needed to do all that anyway, and the flute diff ended up kind of, I think, equalizing in a big way in your favor.
Okay. Yeah, because we when I was on Death Mountain the first time, I forgot to scout the floating islands, so we had no clue the flippers were there. We got lucky just once I got the mitts and we were talking about. I went and checked catfish. Just we were talking about the routing as we went up. I'm like, well, I'll check this, and we'll figure out what we want to do. I'm like, let's go Death Mountain, and then when we saw the flippers there, I was okay. That's pretty huge. Because yeah, we had no idea. So in a way, it's like I'm glad we went right back up there because that could have been big if we would have done other things and not seen that for a while.
Yeah, I also thought the ice before swamp play was interesting. Just what were your thoughts going into that one? Was that just kind of, icebreaker ice is pretty fast? Were you kind of thinking about trying to do something your opponent hadn't done yet? What was the plan there?
Yeah, that was a talk that Tracy and I had when we were going through. She was suggesting to consider doing that play first because we know we could clear that out, and if we did find the items that we needed in there, that we could just go mode swamp after that. And the bottles were aplenty in this seed, so I was able to load up and knew that even with Fighter Sword we were going to be able to knock out Cold Stare because we just had so many resources that way. So it really was kind of go either way with that one, and I'm like, okay, yeah, with enough potions I felt more than comfortable doing the Fire Rod Cold and Fighter Sword Cold Stare fight. This was definitely, I mean, I had a couple rough practice seeds this week, so this one was also pretty challenging, but definitely felt a lot more doable once we figured out where the puzzle was taking us.
Yeah, I think all things considered, the execution was pretty solid from both runners here. I think you both made really good use of your resources, right? Like you got all those bottles, you weren't afraid to get the potions and make good use of them, all of that kind of stuff, so...
Yeah, I think kind of the most, the thing I felt kind of like, oh yeah, this is heads up play from both of these runners and really clutch was when you guys were doing the Fighter Sword Moth. That's because that's something that a lot of new runners will be really scared of, but because you don't have half magic, you have to make sure for a good fight you got to use that fire rod. But I was like, okay, well we got green potions, let's make sure we go in there, don't get overzealous, take too much damage because there's no heals.
Yeah, the game handed us 2 green bottles. So, I mean, it just, when we were going through Thieves Town and we got the second bottle with green potion, I was just like, okay, now I definitely feel more than confident about going up to Moth. And we had enough health to kind of withstand some stuff too, so I was feeling pretty good once, like, there was kind of like a double safety at that point.
Yeah, but it is always a little bit nerve-wracking, going in, relying on that magic for that, because that's that finite resource. Once it's gone, and if you have to do that fight with Fighter Sword, it can get out of hand really quick.
Yeah, and I mean, fortunately, I know Hammer is not the easiest on Moth either, but we did have that too, so I was ready to resort to that to try and get a couple hits if need be, and then hopefully avoid a lot of that mess in that room.
Yeah, Indio got a very clutch final hit with the hammer
Nice.
on their fight, which was
Very cool.
really, really nice.
Very cool.
But yeah, we are into the Ganon fight here for Indio, so just a few scant minutes left until Hyrule has been saved twice over.
Into phase 2 here now, and yeah, looks like Indio's going to be playing it relatively slow and cautious here, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I don't recall if Indio has a fairy. Gonna have to avoid getting hit here. Okay, fairy was obtained.
But yeah, Emock, you were getting some praise in chat there for your Master Sword fight. Clearly, the practice is showing up, which is always good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was saying to my mentor when we were looking at this, I remember the very first time I had to try to do Master Sword Ganon, it was not a fun experience. It took a long time to kind of get used to the pattern to it. Yeah,
and how much less mobility you have too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess while we have a couple minutes here, could you briefly say some stuff about like your background, like what brought you here to the mentor tournament? What's your background in randomizer?
I've been playing this in a lot of different forms for many years at this point, but I've just never really I've learned a lot of the little things like as new glitches get introduced and approved for racing. I've learned a lot of them like specking and stuff like that, but I've never really fine-tuned a lot of my work, a lot of my times to try and really get them lower. So I thought this would be a neat opportunity just to kind of jump in and try to see if I can get some of the finer movements, some of the finer text to really just see if I can do a little bit better than what I've been doing. But I mean, I do a lot of open seeds for different things, but then I've also done for fun, nothing competitive, like cross keys, door rando. I like to do a lot of the logic puzzle part of it, and so it's really just getting down the other parts to it too.
We do see a game over there, unfortunately, from Indio. And yes, I think we're going to be seeing at this point, you just take it, just grab your safeties, and make sure you finish out that fight. But yeah, no, your Ganon fight was very very well executed.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I used to be very, very afraid of that Master Sword Ganon fight, but now it's like, well, if we find tempered, great. If not, I feel confident enough that I can do, especially when I was still holding on to 3 or 4 potions at that point. At that point I was feeling pretty confident in that.
How did you feel, up until getting into the mini Helma room, staring down Master Sword Silverless? How's your Silverless?
I swear I don't remember if I had Master Sword Silvers or Silverless fight in one of the previous weeks, but I was just fully mentally ready to do that. So that was a nice gift that GT gave us. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was another sword buried in GT somewhere. I don't know how much
yeah,
of
it's in the
GT
basement.
Indio
It's
stuff.
gotta be.
Yeah,
or
probably.
It's in Swamp.
Well, yeah, that one check. Yeah.
But yeah, actually, for especially newer players, I really highly recommend learning the Silverless fight, not just in case you ever need to utilize it, but it also just teaches you a lot about the Phase 4 in general and how it works, which is often a sticking point because it's kind of the phase you get that the pits on the side that erase all your progress if you accidentally trip into them, and doing the silverless fight demands a lot of understanding of like where the attacks are going to go, how to dodge, how to get around stuff, and once you're used to the silverless fight, you basically are never going to fall ever again in phase 4. It's very rare once you learn how to do silverless, so it's a really great thing to brush up on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I run just like a casual competition stuff on. There's a link to the past subreddit, so shout out to anyone in here who also does that. But anyone watching, but we're doing an open seed every week, and of course, you know, you get countless of those over the time period that you're doing a silverless scan and kill. So I've done enough of those over the time. So if it's Master Sword or if it's, you know, tempered, obviously Master Sword silverless still stinks, but it is what it is if it shows up.
I gotta say, Indio looked much more confident in phase 1 of this this second try at the Ganon fight. I think just got into the rhythm a whole lot better, at least in phase 1. And then, of course, commentator curse in full effect.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like Sliver was saying earlier. The Master Sword phase 2 can be really gnarly, and you have to often be very patient, and that feels bad when you're trying to go fast.
And phase 2 Ganon is just awful no matter what. Because he was not giving me a friendly position until like what the 4th teleport that I finally was able to get some spins on the top, but it was yeah, like that whenever he goes down the bottom right, it's the absolute worst.
Yeah, that's when you have to sort of turn off racing mode for a bit and just be like, you know what, let's just turn on casual mode again and just try to win, you know.
Well,
Play
to
like
top
a
it off,
little fraidy cat if you got to.
yeah, I mean, to top it off, the seed was cruel enough not to give us a cape either to make this a little bit better. But just that's totally missing as well.
Yeah, it's kind of seeds like this that I make me love the game. You know, it's you know, there's kind of, you know, normal distribution of like what kind of seeds you end up running up against, and the outliers are always the most interesting to me. You know, it's like, oh man, you don't see something like this every like all the time. You know. Those seeds where we're at the end in your stats screen, you've got 6 swordless spa skills.
Yeah, that's the one. Like I felt more confident coming into open versus open assured, just because that's what I'm more used to doing when we do our weekly seeds are always open. So like going through part of the game swordless or on fighter, I do that often with some of the seeds that we run anyway, and so I guess I'm just kind of used to some of that stuff. So running open, and you know, it's like, yeah, being on fighter stinks because eventually you need to find a master sword, but like I can handle a good portion of the game on fighter. I just might not want to, like going for that moth kill, but
yeah. Well, I mean, if you wanted to get a sword at the beginning of the game, you know, the vanilla game's right there.
Yeah, right.
There we go. That's our final arrow. So get your GGs in chat for Indio. Going to be crossing the threshold momentarily.
I didn't want to say anything once Indio got through phase 3. I'm like, I cursed them once. I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah, well, you know, getting through phase 3, that's the that's the point. Or it should be the point. Phase 2 is like we said, that's the rough one. But yeah, .done.comment, and that is a final time of 2:04:36. GG's to Indio.
And also a good time to shout out our mentors for this race, Coin Chaser and Tracy M. Thanks to them for sharing their knowledge and their love of this game. And, also shout outs to Go Mode Podcast for putting the whole tournament together and just being a great way for people to get into Rando and talk about it. So, head over to your favorite podcast, whatever app, whatever you're using to check them out if you're not already. I assume you probably are. And of course, join us in the Discord there as well for more fun races and Rando knowledge and everything you're looking for.
And we're waiting to see if India's gonna hop in for an interview. I'm sure that was an exhausting final leg of a race, but it's always good to finish those seeds out. Yeah, shout outs to the crew. We've always got all of these great races coming, so we try to put on as many as we can, and that's thanks to all the volunteers. So we've got cool Papa Bell, myself on commentary. I'm Phalace again. Amphales. I'm not sure exactly how that one's said, but on the tracking, and of course secretly a sliver on the restream. The goat, the hero.
Yet another fun thing
unless
you
we're
can
gonna. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that's yet another fun thing you can do on the Discord, right? If you want to hop in, commentate some races, track some races, just help us share more fun rando content with the world, you're always welcome.
Yeah, it's lower pressure than you think it is. Yeah, I think we are going to be getting INDIO in for an interview here. So just hang tight. Try to get that going ASA possible.
And just to keep everyone updated, we are wrapping up week 4 of the tournament here over the next few days. And then what are we moved on to? Is it casual boots for the last 2 weeks?
Yes, that's correct. And we are joined here by INDIO. GG's, INDIO.
GG's.
GG.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, an endurance race for sure.
Yeah. Ugh. Guessing TR was a risk.
Yeah,
sure
I mean,
if,
it was mostly off the back of both the TR play that lost you. That made the gap even wider, but it was late flute that I think slowly bit you in the ass.
Yeah. That was a tough one to see there. But it was a fun race for sure. Got to do a lot of stuff I didn't usually do, so a lot of fighter sword fights.
Yeah, and even with the late flute, that seed was yours to lose until the bow just didn't show up. So.
Yeah. GG's though.
Yeah, because with those mitts and then immediately into the flippers, of course, you got into swamp and ice while Emock was wrapping up a dipping pot in Eastern. But then, of course, you two just kind of wound up switching places a few minutes later. So.
Oh right, yeah. Yeah, it was Aura. We just didn't have the money, and we kept skipping it, and then just kept pushing that off. But that was the difference. Crazy.
Yeah, it never feels good for a race to kind of come down to fate like that, you know. Yeah, you made all the right decisions at the time, kind of, and just didn't play out in your favor. But you stuck with it and let the chips fall where they may. You know, that's
Did you
rando.
ever find a tempered, or that never showed up anywhere?
No, we finished on Master Sword Silvers just like you did.
Nice. Yeah, we kind of did. We did purple chest. Forgot to check the tablet there, so we were worried about that. A couple of things like that were in the back of our mind of where that bow could be. So it's kind of a going into TR was kind of the gamble.
Yeah, we were gonna go into TR, but we ended up checking Spike Cave first and lucked out with that.
Nice.
But I'm just guessing that the swords could have been further in GT because I went DM route, so I did the left, did the 4 checks, and then immediately found it in Hope Room. So we were just climbing.
Nice. Yeah. How soon did you do? When did you go into Spike Cave? Was that?
Oh, it was pretty late because from what everyone was telling me, you had the mitts well before we did because we went through Eastern and Pod before we ended up checking Pyramid, and
Right.
then found those, and then after I mean I even cleared out Desert and the Mire area, which I think you must have too because were you also on Red Mail?
Yeah. Yeah. We did
Yeah,
Mire.
so you did all that as well. We didn't and then after that I was like, well, Death Mountain, I think we did the Smith Chain, and then we said, all right, Death Mountain has got the most density, so let's do Spike before we go into Turok, and
Nice.
we got lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Well, GG's, man. Congrats. That was a good race.
Yeah, GG's to you too.
Ugh. On to the next one.
It was funny too because we were sitting here in comms just talking about, do you do Spike Cave or do you go right into TR? And we were both ways on it too. So it's just one of those coin flips. You got to just pick something and live with it. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were kind of wondering if PED maybe was gonna have something on it, but thankfully it didn't.
Yeah, we actually did get the PED check from Emock.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
that Bombos in Meyer was a bit of a trip also, right? Because that sort of killed one decision that could have been another diverging path there.
I was so glad that was Bamos.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really, I was like, I don't really want to do Myers, so I was kind of glad that was off the table for a bit, and then and it worked out.
Yeah, for sure. That was good to see that. Yeah, it was hard to know how far behind or ahead. That was just I feel like it was a weird seed. We were out of logic for so long.
Yeah,
it
same.
it was just hard to know how well or bad we were doing. But TR felt like the big decision in the moment for sure, whether or not that was gonna pay off. And we saw the shovel in there too. We were like, oh man, is it the shovel?
yeah.
There's lots of little things.
But yeah, unless either of you two have any other further thoughts on the seed, I think we'll wrap up.
I'll just say thank you for everyone who worked the restream today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for doing that, guys. That was great. I'll have to go back and watch it for sure.
Yeah, and thank you two for racing. It was a good show. Now, where does this place your records?
I think I'm 1 in 3.
We both are, yeah, because that was my first one.
Yeah, because I think this is the one we had an odd number of one of the matchups, and so this was a sort of surprise matchup here, and it ended up working out. The undefeated player ended up losing a game to the defeated player, so it's gonna be a good rest of the tournament. And I hope to see good things from both of you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks everyone.
Yeah, have a good one.